Two village idiots with a love-hate relationship.
See, you got fat. So you still look like a 15-year-old girl, but not hot.
Who can't stop arguing over Oklahoma sports.
You know what, man? Why am I still talking to you?
Come on, we were doing good there, man.
It's the Just Okay Sports Podcast, hosted by Troy and Daryl.
Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports Podcast. I am a village idiot, Daryl, and I'm here with my brother, Jay Rada. Guess what is up?
What's going on, my guy? Yeah, it's Wednesday and
A
it's already
lot.
been a week, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
my day's been real interesting. So
can you want to give the
just know, first of all, we would love for you to leave a 5-star review, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, leave comments. And tonight you might very well have all the opportunity you would like to leave comments, because I'm on some pretty heavy narcotics at this point. Went in at 6, woke up at 5, went into the ER at 6:30, in severe pain, and left at about 1 p.m. with being told that I had a pretty severe kidney stone. So I've been dealing with that today. So yeah, that was interesting. And I always thought there's no way that can hurt that bad. And I was completely wrong. It hurts real bad. It hurts really, really bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, I've had one before, and I was telling, we were talking about this a little before the pod. I literally I at least tell myself, at least I have a high tolerance for pain, and I nearly passed out trying to drive to the emergency room with a kidney stone. It hurts so bad. And luckily they didn't, I don't know if it was lucky or not, but they didn't have to do the they do like the vibration. Like apparently they can even have to, like, it gets big enough, they can actually have to do surgery, but most of them, they said that they can do like a sonogram looking thing or whatever.
Yeah. And break it up and all that. Yeah, she came in and said, you're just under a millimeter too small for us to do the breakup procedure. She's like, if it was 1 more millimeter big, it would be required that we have to break it up, but it's not. And I was like,
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly, as a matter of fact, that's almost exactly what happened to me. I like, they were like, yeah, you're right on the edge. And you remember, because I remember, so I'll just tell a quick story about why this might be an interesting pod. So when I did, they gave me, I really don't, like, I'm not that guy that, like, I don't like narcotics or anything, really. I don't really like taking medicine, period. But they gave me some, and I was like, dude, I was in so much pain. I was like, dude, I don't care. Give me whatever, right? And, dude, I was so loopy. I remember at one point, and I think you were actually, because you came down to make sure I was, like, all good or whatever. And I was walking out to the dumpster by my house with my laundry basket. I don't know why. I got all the way there and I was like, anyway. So my brain it's like your brain just almost half shuts off. You just go into a weird daze autopilot. So yeah, so we might have some Daryl memes coming in hot after this pod.
It's going to be hard for me to go dark. Ever since I've had the morphine and all the stuff, I've been a really happy guy today. So, anyways, speaking of happy, I would say that if I was a college student at this point, I'd be really, let me rephrase that. If I was a college athlete, I would be very happy because it was announced this week. The first thing we're going to talk about is that jersey sales are available. Did they announce that it's all sports? That was one thing I forgot to go back and look. Or was it just basketball, football, and something else? I can't remember. Great podcasting right off the bat. But anyways, we know the football team's going to have them. So, which is a really cool thing. Another kind of NIL opportunity for guys, all that stuff. And so when that kind of got announced, you and I a little bit texted, but we have not talked. Who do you think? Who's gonna reap the benefits of the jersey sales the most? And by the way, I do have in my back pocket, I listened to a radio show talk about this the other day. It was actually the Ref, great station. Go check them out. But they picked somebody at the top of their list, and I thought, really? I could not believe that was at the top of their list. So, but who do you think?
I mean, so I have, because when I read this question, I was like, okay, I have a few schools of thoughts on this, right? So I feel like you can name like Mims or Weiss, right? Like those, they're playmakers,
Mims for
whatever.
sure, like in the top 5, right? Mims
Yeah,
is a top 5.
yeah. Yeah. So that makes sense. But I actually think because of just how some of the stuff went down, I think the one that's who I believe is going to have the top seller is Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
because
Which
because
makes
because I
sense.
mean, yeah, because I mean, in the sense of like everybody's frustrated. Like what's so funny to me is, remember, this is something, like a realization I had when I was actually getting ready for this pod. Spencer was like hated to the point of getting booed and people chanting for Caleb, right? And then now it's like a total script reversal where he goes to South Carolina and everybody's like, "Hey man, good luck. We're gonna be cheering for you. Like, let's go,
Yeah.
Spencer." And
Yeah.
then Caleb goes to USC, and it's like everybody's like, "Bro," like
Yeah.
anyway. So I just think that because of that position, that how tumultuous it's been, and like Dylan Gabriel's,
Mhm.
I think people are kind of circling him as to be, I say savior or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like he's going to be the
Yeah.
guy. I think I think everybody just really there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to be special, because everybody's going to want to throw it in Lincoln Riley's face
Yeah.
as hard as they can. So anyway, so that's why I think he'll be the top seller.
Okay. See, for me, I like immediately was like the runaway top seller is going to be Stutzman. Just between his Twitter stuff, his dad, the fact that everybody thinks he's going to be a monster with BV coaching him, all those things. I thought for sure he's the top guy. I thought Mims was definitely going to be like a top 5 kind of guy. There was and another guy. I'll be interested because I think people, like, we kind of had this chat on Discord the other day with some people. People really either love him or they kind of think he's just too much or whatever, but it's Turk. I don't think you can underestimate that Turk's going to have some jersey sales, even as a punter, just because of, again, the stuff he does through his YouTube channel and all. I mean, he's got like 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. So you got to think that he's going to sell some in there. And then, yeah, of course, DG. I mean, there ain't no doubt Gabriel's going to sell some. But here's what's funny. I've asked this question a couple different places, and the name that has not come up one time, and I don't understand it.
Drake Stoops.
No, well, okay. Drake is the one I was actually talking about the radio. They said he would be number 1, hands down.
Yeah. But I mean, and that makes sense too, because people just want the Stoops name, right?
I guess
everybody is so high on Stoops, and rightfully so, that I think that'll be playing to it.
I guess, but I just don't. I mean, I definitely think there'll be some Stoops jerseys. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he's far and away the number 1. But okay, so I'm gonna try asking this question a different way. Of all the guys returning on defense, who's the best?
I can't answer that.
I can. I don't think it's even hard.
Who's the best?
Like, of all the guys return, let me ask it a different way. Who do you trust to be a performer next year on this defense and to do their job next year on this defense out of everybody returning?
I mean, like, you gotta, like, Coe could be special. I mean, did you see the picture of Coe under Wiley?
Yeah.
Under Wiley.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, you get him under Schmitty, dude, come on. Yeah, Key Lawrence. Yep. I mean, yeah, Key Lawrence obviously is a great player. I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. I guess what I'm saying is, if you're asking me to pick right now, then I probably would say Key Lawrence, right? Like, that's probably who stands out to me. But at the exact same time, some of these guys, it's gonna be hard to see what the trajectory is gonna be for some of these guys once they're under Schmitty. Like especially the guys on the D line or even the linebackers. Like, you know what I mean? Because we had some very tweened out, linebackers and defensive linemen, and now those guys are going to be bulked up. So it's going to be, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm saying it's hard for me to say.
I don't think it's even a hard question. I think it's Woody Washington.
Oh yeah, Woody. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, Woody would be.
Woody Washington has been a star from the minute they put him in the lineup. Like even last year, like what he
when he came in. So I remember this when he came in at OU when he was a freshman coming out of high school or whatever. He came in. People were like, "This kid's special." Like right off the bat, they were like, "He is athletic. He is a worker." I mean, like literally, you couldn't find anything bad to say about him. So it was kind of weird that it took him so long to get in the lineup, right? Like,
right.
And it even felt like times that they would put him in. And I know sometimes they'd put him in like garbage time or something, but they'd put him in and he would just shine. But then he would just get pulled right away, right? And it's like,
right.
Well,
and a lot of people got down on him his true freshman year because of the playoff game against LSU, right? Like, but if you go back and watch that game, number one, he's a true freshman. Number two, they had him playing safety, not corner. They had him playing safety. And if you go back and watch, he's like 2 inches away. Like on every throw made over him, he's there. Right. It's just money balls from Joe Burrow. And again, against Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and for a true freshman, he played actually very, very well, considering the circumstances he had to come into that game. But he has by far been the best guy. I have not heard him make anybody's list, and it's just like, why do we not?
But hang on. But here's the thing. I think this is why. Like this is why I said like I think this is why. It's the same thing. Like for us, for football guys, like I don't. This sounds like I'm being condescending. If you know football, then it's like you can look at Woody Washington or Key Lawrence or whatever, right, and be like, that kid's really good. Right, because some of those plays they make don't really go on a play sheet, or they don't change the tide of a game in one play, right? Like if you do a pass breakup, that's really good and shows that you're capable, right? But like an average football watcher is gonna be like, oh, cool, you block, right? Like guys like us are gonna take heed of that and stuff like that. Just like the guys in the trenches, like I said, just like those guys, sometimes they don't end up on a stat sheet, right? Sometimes it's like, well, really the guy that got the sack was only getting it because the other dude was demolishing the entire offensive line or whatever, So it's one of those things. I think that's why I say like people are going to people notice big catches. People recognize offense. That's, to be honest, offense and turnovers. That's what they recognize. That's what they know. So that's why I say, Mims, Weiss, Gabriel, guys like that will probably be the ones. And also, like to your point with Stutzman, argument against Stutzman is just we follow Twitter really heavily, but does the average fan follow OU Twitter as heavily as we do? Probably not.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It could be. I love Stutzman. Don't get me wrong. I would like. Sounds weird to say. This makes me sound like because he's a college kid, but it's like, dude, I like that's the one dude on that team. I'm like, dude, I just want to hang out with him just because he seems like he's just a blast. Like he's just hilarious. But
absolutely. His dad too.
Yeah.
Which by the way, he is still invited to the house when he comes to have brisket, and he says he might do it. So we'll see what happens.
I'm coming for that, dude.
I know if it goes down, absolutely. No, you are invited when and if that happens. So that's all the good news. So let's go dark. Let's go into the dark realms now. Let's go to the dark web, if you will, the dark pod, the dark J-Rodicus.
Yeah, there's some people like Nemo's in here. Mo is in here.
Yeah.
My boy Sean's in here. Even my boy Calzone. Like we got a bunch of people in chat. So by the way, and guys, just in case, because you're watching this podcast form, we do this on Twitch. So if you want to see this done live, see us probably stumble over ourselves a little bit more than you get in the post edit. Pop into the Twitch. But anyway,
not too much. I ain't doing that much editing. So and right now, as we get into this, you guys that are in chat, feel free to put some slingers in there while we go. So there was an appearance made this week. The TBOW decided to go visit his boyfriend, Colin Cowturd, and be on the show. Right. The love affair finally met up. They finally. What's the term nowadays? Did they like
bromance? They're
can we say it was Twitter official? I guess, right?
Yeah, Twitter.
Can we say that Twitter official that they're together? Yeah. So of course, Cowherd had him on the show. It got definitely made the rounds. Let's just say that. So I'm gonna let you go first, Jared. How do you feel?
Dude, okay.
How do you feel?
All right. So look, man, I I don't even know where to start with this guy. Okay. So first of all, I know I'm kind of blowing our outline out here, but I'm just gonna go straight to the end. Does the dude have zero self-awareness, at all? Because like everything he complained about, like everything, like every negative he said was like, well, we did this. It's like everything that he said, he like immediately contradicts, or like he literally had just complained about the portal, right? Like he had just been on national media complaining about the portal.
We need guardrails.
And then
it's a good thing, but it needs guardrails.
We need guardrails. It needs to be a proof system. It needs to be regulated and all this other crazy stuff, right? And not only that, we can also, like I said, we've brought it before, the saga that we had with Austin Kendall and Chandler
Morris. Yep.
Because they transferred in conference, and that shouldn't be happening. And then what cracks me up?
Hold on. It's bad for college football. Interconference transferring without being sat out is bad for college football.
So here's where I went off. Like, this is where I was like, the steam coming out of my ears. He said Colin opens it up. It says, like, Lincoln, you got 13 guys, blah, 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 from the transfer portal. You just lit it up on the transfer portal. It's so amazing. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like, you just got to, and like, he's like, but you used to be critical of it. So what's it? He's like, well, like, you got to change with the times, and like, it's the rules. And so like, you got to play within the rules. And we didn't. And I was like, okay, like, already, I know everybody else said, like, whenever he said we didn't take kids from Oklahoma, we took kids from the portal, I was already tilted before that. I was like, bro, like, this is literally I'm sorry. Again, self-awareness is just gone. I don't know how you even think that you can say those things after your record. And again, Colin, of course, being Colin, tries to dismiss it of like, well, that was 2 years ago. And it's like, okay, dude, like, pick your poison then, because you picked on Baker for stuff that happened to him 2 or 3 years ago. So what are we talking about? He's so selective. Like, it's just, I don't even know where to start. Like, I'm sorry. We could do this for like an hour. So go ahead.
Here's the deal. Let me start with, I know Sunshine was mad at me when I said this. I want to give Colin some props, because you and I talked about this. Colin knows that his ratings are completely based off pushing people's buttons, right? Like, for instance, he's been tweeting at Oklahoma fans now for what, 3 weeks? Hey, your coach left, get over it. Oklahoma fans don't understand, capitalism and free market. Like, he's been taking his little jabs, right? And he does that to stir interest, right? I'm going to push the button. I'm going to poke the bear, but that's going to generate Twitter. That's going to generate views, all that good stuff, right? And yet he gave Lincoln every opportunity to look good, because he knew that Lincoln had been getting obliterated on Twitter. And if you go back and listen to that whole question about that, he said, look, obviously when you leave a place, and he goes, and you loved your time there, your heart was there. He tries to make it all this sentimental stuff, right? Like, I know that you were just so, like, that was a place that you were so rooted, but then you do make this decision, and you probably do want to take guys with you. And so how hard was that? Was it a delicate thing to figure out how to work through that? Right.
Yeah.
Look,
I mean,
he teed it up for Lincoln to go, we had a great run there. And like, all Lincoln had to do was then stick to his script, right? We loved our time there. We felt like this was the best decision for our family. And yes, it was really hard. The balance of these kids, but no, that's not like, he immediately goes, I mean, maybe, but we didn't take players from Oklahoma. We took them out of the transfer portal, and that's the rules. And why wouldn't we? Like, okay, like he gave you every chance to act like he cared.
And then the other thing is, he said, can't quote it, but he basically was like, well, there's two kinds of people, like those that just want to succeed within the rules, and like those that just, and like, I don't remember how he phrased, but I was like, dude, like, then you were the guy before, like, what? Like, you literally 2 days ago were the other guy, and now you're the guy that just wants to succeed within the rules or whatever. Like, what? Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, the guy, and like I said, but I will agree. Colin, for one, gave him, I feel like gave him kind of some of those lob toss pitches,
Yes.
of like, whatever, but then also was like giving him a lot of almost like loaded, like just say yes or no almost, you know what I mean? Like you're kind
Yeah.
of, I mean, it was set up, right? And that's going to be the norm. Collins, an
Oh, he's
USC fan,
USC all day, like all that stuff. But I mean, again, he could have just said, he could have asked that question and he tried to give Lincoln an out, and Lincoln just refused to take it. He refused to take it. And you add all the other things on top of it. Look, and even players, podcasts on the prairie with Braden and Jay Hall, dude, they were pissed about when he talked about there needs to be guardrails and we need more rules and regulation. Like, dude, and you could tell Willis, he didn't say much, bro. That did not sit well. And so, I mean, yeah, dude, don't give us this song and dance. I didn't take players from Oklahoma. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And
yeah, like that's,
and I don't for 1 second believe that Roy Manning was here not dropping hints to them about coming to USC. I don't for a second believe that Lincoln didn't text or call or DM or whatever these guys and say, hey, any of you guys that want to come, I got spots for you. And then you add on to it, he has 5 of his 13 are from the Pac-12, which again, he's the guy who blocked kids from going to other schools because it's bad for college football. But now he has 5. And do you not think for a second, Mr. the competitive advantage that gives the school? You don't think he's pulling those kids in partially just to know how they run their systems? Do you not think that that's part of why he brought some of those kids in? Absolutely it is.
But okay, but hang on, let's break this down into like even a psychological element for a second. He is like all these rules that he wants to enforce on everybody else, right? Like, well, we need guardrails and you shouldn't transfer within conference. None of those apply to him because, like, honestly, right. like this has been a showcase of what a narcissist is. And I mean, I'll eat crow. Like, I defended the guy, but now I'm like, dude, like the dude's just got no character. I mean,
well, and look, here's the only defense I will give Lincoln, and we talked about it last week. I was in some spaces this week at lunch and stuff, working through things. And look, I do think Lincoln got pissed about the move to the SEC, and I don't think it was because of the SEC. I don't think he was really involved in that process very much. And look, I'd be mad. You're not even going to talk to me about that before that decision's made. I'd be ticked if I was a football coach over that. I do think he was told he wasn't going to get all the bells and whistles that the other SEC schools had. And I think that's what drove him, right? And so he's bitter and he's angry and he's all those things. But man, when this all first went down, I remember people going, is this as bad as Kevin Durant? And I went, no way. Kevin Durant was worse. Kevin Durant, but like, yet now here we are a month later and it's the same playbooks, right? It's the same exact taking players and talking about how great they were in Oklahoma City and talking bad about other stuff, constantly bringing stuff up about the process that's changing the narrative, right? Like, because remember, I didn't even get contacted till Sunday morning, that next morning. Then he went on another show and said it was Saturday night, just like Kevin Durant did. I didn't even know what I was going to do till the moment I sent that stuff out. Then he starts talking about how he was watching the finals and knew he wanted to play with the Warriors right then, which was weeks before that, right? I mean, it's just like he's literally and then blocking everyone that gives a negative thought, right? I mean, it's just, come on, man.
Here's the issue I have with one of the big issues, I guess there's about a million with Lincoln, though, is that he's clearly been I think this is, and I think this is why most people do. I think if he just came out and said it, like everybody would be fine. Like, just be genuine about it and just be like, if you just say, actually, like, literally, I think this is what's funny. I think people would feel better and be less critical of Lincoln, because what's funny is even fan bases that don't like OU have been critical of Lincoln.
Oh, yeah, that Georgia podcast that like lit into him about his guardrail statement.
Yeah. So you have all this going on anyway. If he just came out and said, look, I've actually never liked the University of Oklahoma. Like, they've always been a rival to every school I've liked or whatever. I just hate Oklahoma and I want to go to California. It's like, yeah, people aren't going to be happy, but they can be like, okay, well, like, all right, dude, whatever. you know. But you
Right.
being like, well, like I still love OU, and like it's such a great university, and like it's like, bro, this is the moment where you got to take the kid gloves off and just say it, dude, just say it. And he's not
Yeah.
going to do that. He's not going to do that. I don't want to use words that you're gonna have to bleep out, but he's just not a good person. So,
No, yeah, it's definitely showing. So,
but can I want to say this because I know some people probably in chat are not going to be happy with this, but I got to give some props to RJ Young. Right, RJ Young has actually lit up.
100%.
He's put some burners out on Twitter. Now, I'm not like, I don't hate him as much as a lot of people do, but I do think he's kind of fallen into that kind of, in a way, I hate to say this. I think he's in almost the same mold as Colin in that he knows how to like poke and prod and like get the ratings, get the clicks, right? Like he says things that are kind of absurd and wild, whatever. But I just want to say, because so first of all, I actually want to read the second one I have on here first, but because this tweet to me was like, dude, he just like everybody in the state of Oklahoma, whether you know you fan or not. Okay, so Okies are proud in a world where we are often belittled, ridiculed, and made to feel small. The football team is that state's talisman. We're hustle and have to in a have not world. It's a fight for everything. What you're witnessing is a people sticking up for themselves. Like I was like, bro, like let's go. Like, so
and just
as much as you can
so well.
As much as you can hate on RJ, props to him for that. But and it's true though. Like, I mean, I think that's what was kind of funny is when this happened, people kind of like, and I want to get into something that happened, which Sean brought up to me just a minute ago in chat. Like there were some fan bases that kind of like poked fun at it and whatever. And it's like, okay, dude, like I get it, but it's like, like if OU football means a lot to a lot of us because we live in Oklahoma, and like as much as I love Oklahoma, we got football. Like that's what we got. You know what I mean? That's our thing. So so it take our team taking that large of a hit, at least is what it seemed at the time, especially, was really hard. So them acting like some of the fan bases, like USC acting like, well, OU fans shouldn't even be mad. It's like, bro, stop. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the reaction you're seeing is just people that have been, as dumb as it may sound, emotionally affected by all this. Yeah. So
you got that. You got Cowherd taking his shot, and then the other tweet that RJ put out. Let me read that one because he had two. That one was probably my favorite, but this one was good too. Here's what RJ said. Said, underneath the USC Lincoln Riley Oklahoma discourse is The Grapes of Wrath, a novel about Okies who moved to California because they couldn't hack it. Not everybody is built to be an Oklahoman. We prefer you just admit it.
Bro, like, dude, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Like, if it was like if I had to pay to see those tweets, I'd pay to see them because they were that good.
Oh my gosh, man. I mean, he brought the fire. I mean,
yeah.
And that's one thing you got to give RJ, whether you hate his takes, especially Twitter. That guy is a great writer. Like the way he words things, his sense of humor and how he writes things is really good, whether you like him or not. But those two tweets, oh my gosh, Oklahoma fan base is getting back with RJ.
So, and I want to say this real quick because this is what I think is kind of funny to me. Because obviously, if people don't know, so obviously we're brothers. We were both born in Houston, and you grew up. Well, you spent a large part of, I guess, your childhood in Houston. I was in Oklahoma since I was like 2 or 3 or whatever. So, but grew up in Oklahoma, but we went to Texas a lot, right? And so, like, I can't remember. It was like so funny because, like obviously we lived in a small town in Oklahoma. We did not have money or anything. You know what I mean? Like we were fairly poor growing up, so we didn't have much to do, right? When it came to just living in a small town and being basically poor, right? And we go to Houston and it's like, okay, well, there's all this stuff to do, like our grandparents are pretty well off. So like, it was like, we could do stuff, but it's like, dude, for me personally, at least, I've just always like been in love with the state. Like I fell in love with the state of Oklahoma because kind of like I think it's like the people, the pride, right? Like, it's a very proud state. Like, yes, there's a lot of things that suck about Oklahoma. I'm not gonna be that guy. It's like, it's without fault, right? Like a lot of things that suck about Oklahoma, but at the exact same time, the people are so proud and they're so like, it's it does feel like because you have Texas to your south, right? You have big cities to your north, like Kansas City and St. Louis, and you're kind of surrounded on all sides by all these bigger, better things, quote unquote.
Right.
So we didn't have an NBA team. We didn't have, it was like for a long time, like Oklahoma was just kind of the outcast state that nobody cared about. It was the podunk backwoods state, and so it was kind of us versus the world, which is that's why Baker Mayfield is my favorite player of all time. Right, like Baker Mayfield is because he was just that was him. It was I don't care. It's me versus everybody, whatever. So that's why I fell in love with it. But it wants to bring me into a thing because, well, with that being said, I got to throw some shade at Oklahoma State. Did you see what happened at the Bedlam game?
Yes, I did.
Like, okay, for one, look, we'll send you I guess we're gonna have to send you a check for rent because we just live in your head. Like we owe you rent. All right. I'm sorry. Like it cracks me up. It's like not only that, it's like it's one of those things that it's like to win. It's the most, again, it kind of goes back to being not having self-awareness. You win Bedlam on average, like about once a decade. We'll call it once a decade. Once out of every 10 years, you win Bedlam. And you're going to try to act like you're puffing your chest up and you're big bad dog on the block. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. And again, it's one of those deals like, again, and that's what cracks me up is like, as an OU fan, Texas is
hold on. Sorry, I have got something in there. But just so people don't know, what Oklahoma State did at the Bedlam basketball game in Oklahoma State was on the back page of like their newspaper, school newspaper / program for the game. They did a full page print up of Lincoln Riley in his USC gear with his little peace fingers fight on hand signal deal that they put on there, to where when everybody was holding it up, it was Lincoln Riley giving the peace signal to the stadium.
Yeah. And I mean, it was such a, it was so frustrating. But anyway, to me, like I said, as an OU fan, Texas is the school I hate, right? Like, I don't really like, I don't hate OSU. Like, when OSU's not playing Oklahoma, I cheer for them because they're an Oklahoma school, just like I do with Tulsa. And if UCO was in the, it sounds like UCO actually might be an FBS school eventually, then I would cheer for them. Like, it's because it's an Oklahoma school. It kind of goes back to that Oklahoma pride. But for whatever reason, Oklahoma State has like the biggest issue. Like, they have the most little man, small brother syndrome I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, I had to get that out there because I just thought it fit with the whole state thing. Well,
and I mean, look, I don't disagree with you about some of the stuff with Oklahoma State, but that one in particular, I appreciated it. I thought that was kind of awesome. I mean, like, if Mike Gundy had bailed on Oklahoma State for something and we did that, I'd be like, dude, that's well played. I mean, granted, it was salt in a wound. Don't get me wrong. But well played, Oklahoma State. Played. I give you props. I give you props for it.
It's a roast, but it's like, dude, I just absolutely hope we dog walk them in Bedlam next year. Like, I want BV to make it 100-0. And also, I want to read something that Mo posted. NASA planned the trip to the moon and made it there and back faster than Oklahoma State scored a point in Bedlam. That's such a good quote. That's such a good stat. But
nice.
That's nice. Definitely a Blinken Riley tweet.
Yeah.
Which we're to say Blinken Riley now, I guess. But
absolutely. The other thing on social media that went down is, did you see Teddy Lehman's tweet?
Yes, I did see that.
Because the other thing that obviously happened this week, if you did not know, matter of fact, was it today or yesterday? Caleb Williams got to make a media appearance. Jared, USC's allowing him to talk to the media as a freshman. Isn't that crazy? And he got to do it on Good Morning America. Now, why Caleb Williams is Good Morning America worthy news, I have no idea, other than that somebody at USC pulled some major strings to get him on there. But either way, he made his appearance on there. And Teddy Lehman's tweet, I don't have it in front of me, but was basically to the effect of, go for it. Please read this. Yes.
I'm shocked Good Morning America didn't have him on after he was pulled at Baylor, or when he saved the day against Kansas. The real reason he's on Good Morning America is because a sports station would ask why he can't read a zone. Oh, yeah. I was like, bro.
Woo,
Like, look, Teddy.
man.
Okay, so I say Baker's my favorite player. Teddy is also like Teddy was the first player that I was
Oh,
I worshipped or whatever. Like, I was such a big fanboy of Teddy Lehman because he was a beast in college.
yeah.
And so to see him roast, I mean, I don't even like that. Like, I hope he's going to be okay.
That
Because
was straight.
that's murder charges incoming.
Yeah,
But
that's a body bag tweet right there for sure.
yeah, so
No love lost, needless to say, between Teddy Lehman and the Williams clan, for sure. And again, I'm not mad at Caleb. I want that again to be very, very clear. I mean, number one, he is a kid. He is following, I have no doubt, his dad and entourage and all that stuff's advice.
mhm.
Blah, 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 blah. I hate how long he drug it on. I hate the whole how I still very much am considering Oklahoma. No, you weren't.
Yeah, I mean,
Even Jeff Levy came out and said we knew 48 hours before he went in the portal it was not going our way. I mean, like they knew.
Well, and
you know what I mean? Like,
well, and it goes back to just what I said with Lincoln again, and again, I chalk this up like you said more to his entourage, his dad, his agent, whatever, trying to play a PR BS, right?
yeah,
But it would have just been much more honest if he said, "Look, I came here for Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's not here anymore, so I'm going to see who wants to have me." Like it's like
yeah,
everybody have been like, "All right, cool," like.
right.
And the fact that and the other thing, a little bit of salt in the wound he left was he was like, well, I like the love that Oklahoma fans have for me. It was so special, and I just will always have a place in my heart. I was like, bro, I'm sorry, I respect you, and I literally hope you have a great career in college and the NFL or whatever. But no, bro, like you can't you can't claim two fan bases. I'm sorry. So
Yeah, that was kind of tough. So, anyways, but it is what it is. Now, we're going to get into something that's a lot more serious. That was all emotion. That was dark. That was venting, right? But now let's actually get into something that is not being talked about. And I think it is something that needs to be discussed in this new world of NIL, right? Now, we can all say what we will a bit about NIL. I think there are positives to NIL, but y'all know, again, I am a kid from a poor background. And I got to go to college and do sports at a very low level, right? Even so, knowing how I was treated at like literally the lowest level of rank that you can do in college and the most unwatched and unsupported sport in all of college, I was treated great. So I don't have this feeling like NIL all of a sudden makes these guys treated like gold when they weren't before. I don't believe any of that. At the same time, I believe they deserve some things. Now, but what people are not talking about is these kids that do come from very low income families, right? So again, my first year of college, okay, our stepdad was out of work. So we lived off a mom's salary who worked a job that paid nothing. And he went without a job for almost a year in a kind of a recession type of time. He was kind of a construction, AC guy, all that, and there just weren't jobs. So I got what's called a Pell Grant my first year. Okay. Pell Grants are offered by the government, right? People who are very low income, families that are low income, if you qualify for that and you fill out your FICA and all that stuff, then you qualify for that. And the government comes in and pays for everything. And I looked all this up. You can actually use Pell Grants if you fill out your paperwork correctly to pay for everything. That includes, okay, we're talking books, we're talking out-of-state taxes, blah, 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 blah. It's you go to college for free, right? If you're in that bracket, okay? So Oklahoma, all right, just to give you some numbers, out-of-state costs per year at Oklahoma is a little over $30,000 a year, okay? So if a kid from Texas, poor neighborhood, comes to Oklahoma to play football, right? There's that. Now, what people don't know about Pell Grants is getting a Pell Grant can still be used even if you have a full ride from the university. Okay. So Oklahoma comes to you, J-Rod. We want you. You're here. Sign your paperwork. You're coming. They pay for everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm playing like the really short running back, but yeah.
So they do all that. You still fill out your FICA. And if you qualify for Pell Grant, guess what happens? They inject that money into your school account. But because all of your school accounts are zeroed out, you actually can cash out your Pell Grant.
Right.
So in other words, kids make 30,000. The University, of Texas, I think I had it in there, right? Is around $40,000 a year out of state tuition. So over a 4-year stint, right? If you qualify for Pell Grant at OU, you're going to make $120,000. And if you're at Texas, you're going to make $160,000. Okay. Now, Jared, as I kind of lay that all before you, do you see where the problem comes in for these kids that come from the low income side of things? Are you starting to pick up what I'm laying down yet?
Yeah, no, I know exactly where this is headed. I mean, we both, and it's so funny because it's already like this is where it gets interesting, because I had a little bit different experience. Not to say we were by no means wealthy whenever I went to college, right? But our stepdad was employed. And even at that point, they had changed the restrictions to where I had to list our father too, and our father made good money. So
Right.
I had to jump through all these hoops to get emancipated, and like you have to do all this. I mean, you have to do a whole list of extra paperwork, and even then, it puts a whole bunch of restrictions on you that like you can't at that point you can't get it completely paid for. You can get. I got quite a bit of assistance. I'm not trying to say I didn't, but at the same time, there was a lot more to go through. So I can't even imagine if somebody came up to me and said, hey, here's 50 grand a year just to be here. Because like and people don't realize, I don't know what it is now. When I was in, it was like your household income had to be like less than 60 grand a year, which seems like that's not a lot, people, especially not in today's world. I don't know if they've upped that. I have no way of knowing now, but that's not much. So if you're making 50 grand, like you're pretty much put yourself in a position where you can't get Pell Grant money anymore.
Exactly. And that's where this comes in. So Texas, let's use them as the, let's go high end. Now, look, we know Caleb supposedly got a $2 million deal with Beats by Dre, right?
Right.
And there are some of those deals. But the reality is that 90% of the rosters that are getting NIL deals, it's anywhere from $0 to the tens of thousands of dollars, right? Like Mario Williams showing that he ordered wings from wherever at OU and got an NIL deal for that was not paying him $1 million, right? Like a couple $1,000 or whatever it is. So let's just go ahead and let's just say that a kid gets a $75,000 NIL deal. Okay. So that's the deal. You got to know, right, that most likely with those NIL deals, all these schools now have hired firms, agencies to help them with those NIL deals, right? But the way that those firms are being paid is through getting the commission off the contract that the kid gets, right? And I looked it up. The average is 10%. So 10% of whatever they make. So if you make a $75,000 deal, obviously $7,500 goes there, right? Then when you go through and now you start to realize that you're getting actually paid in a paycheck, you got to deal with Uncle Sam, right? Uncle Sam on a $75,000 a year single salary, somewhere in the 18 to 20% range. The state taxes in all the areas around us are somewhere in the neighborhood of 3.5% to 5%, right? You add all that up, okay? 33% of your income is gone. Boom, out the door, right? Which 33% of 75 is 25. But then here's the other deal. That Pell Grant that you got your freshman year is now gone your sophomore year because you signed an NIL deal. So when you put all that together, you're losing $55,000, if you want to look at it that way, between the taxes and the money that you've lost in your Pell Grant. So these kids are not making as much money as it seems, right? Like the guy, like when they start to compare their notes to the guys that were in school 4 years ago, Well, dude, I made $40,000 just through my Pell Grant.
Right.
And then I took my stipend, which is not enough at all to get me out of the Pell Grant status. So I took my stipend and my Pell Grant. I was making $50,000 a year. And now NIL is actually going to end up. So Texas, right? If you think about Texas, they're offering their offensive linemen $50,000 a year. You do the math. It's a $40,000 a year school. They are losing money. These kids are losing money that come from low income families are literally losing money through the NIL deal. And nobody is helping these kids understand that at all.
Well, and here's another thing that I think you have to circle. These kids are going to have to pay for like an accountant or a financial manager or something along those lines.
They're smart, they will.
Because look, if you write me a $50,000 check, like I said, if you just, like that's it, like this is your income. It's like, well, I got to take, like you said, I got to take a third of that out. Okay. And the thing is like, with the way taxes fluctuate anyway, right? Like it's almost impossible to say like, this is exactly how much I make, especially when you're an athlete that could get another NIL deal, right? Like you might get one down the road that adjusts your income. So usually a financial person will take, a little off the top, like, so if it's 33%, we'll just, for a round number, we'll say 40, right? Like he's going to take 40 out and say like, we got to keep 40 out, but you got to pay that guy to do that. He's not going to do it for free. Right. So that's another thing. And it's like, so are some of these kids, like, it's like somebody, this is where I think it's going to get like, start getting regulated to some degree. And like, it's going to be like, people are going to get smashed, is because you're going to have a kid that's going to get 50,000, however much money, right? Doesn't matter. He's going to get an NIL deal. He's not going to do that. He's not going to file for taxes, right? Like he's not going to claim his income. The IRS is going to be like, hey, dude, you're driving a Hellcat Charger or whatever, and you've got 5 vehicles in your driveway and a bunch of cool stuff. Doesn't look like you're a college student making 20 grand a year, right? Like so I think that's where they're going to have to, that's where something's going to have to happen, where there's going to have to be some sort of regulation or rules put in place to say, like, you're required to have a financial advisor or whatever, and you're going to have to pay that person, right? Like, or the school or the universities are. And if the universities are, they're not going to have, that's financial advisors are not cheap. Okay. Especially if they're having to manage however many hundreds of players finances, right? Because you can't just say, well, and that's the thing is, because of like, I'm sure Title IX and some other things, they can't just say, well, we're only going to handle the guys that have NIL. It's like, no, like that applies to everybody. And it doesn't matter if you're a football guy. It doesn't matter if you're a softball. It doesn't matter if you play water polo. You're going to get the same deal. So you're going to have, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a rabbit hole that I think the next two to 3 years, I think, are going to be very interesting to see how they play out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, and here's what really stinks. I'm a capitalist. I'm all for it. Okay. At the same time, what sucks as you start to break this down and think through it, the rich are just getting richer, right? The kids that come from well-off families already, right, that could pay for all the stuff, them getting an NIL deal makes them more money. Does that make sense? Whereas the kid that does come from the very low-income family, to miss out on that Pell Grant, by the time you do the taxes and all the stuff, some of them are literally losing money. They're losing money. So they are not as well off by taking advantage of NIL as they were before. And again, nobody's telling this to these kids. They're throwing numbers at them. You're going to get this, you're going to get that. And they're all wanting to jump on it. And there's just not somebody there to help guide them through this process that, hey, as long as, like, for us, that year that I talked about, our stepdad was out of work. Like, it was just a bad year. That's the only reason. And again, it's the only year I got a Pell Grant. All the rest of the years were loans for me and working a part-time job and some other things that we had working, right? But like that 1 year, right? Like you're taking that away from those kids. Like, and it just, that just adds another layer of frustration of how we are not helping these kids. We're not doing it for them. We are doing it for our schools and our universities and blah, 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 blah.
Well, Well, here, let me read this because I there's a couple of things in chat that got brought up. So one, Swayze says the only good thing about these scenarios is the kids go broke in college when they can recover, or go broke in college when they can recover versus their rookie year when there's nowhere to fall. Financial literacy the hard way. That's fair. But and then also somebody asked, well, who do you think will get an NIL kid arrested for tax evasion first? USC or Texas? And somebody and Mo said LSU, but
Oh, nice. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
like, and what's funny is I would love to say that OU's not, but I could see OU having somebody. I mean, that's one thing, guys. I can't. We again, people forget these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. If I was good enough for somebody to drop $1 million in my lap and be like, "Hey, man, this is yours," it's like, dude, it would not be it would not be a good outcome,
No,
in the end.
no.
So I would have been an idiot. So,
And look, I was a kid that, I mean, I knew I wanted to go to college. I was talking to all the people. No one ever even explained Pell Grant to me through our high school counselors or anything, right? So, like, if somebody would have come to me and said, "Hey, we're going to give you 50 grand to play O line," oh heck yeah, like let's do this. But then you get to school, you fill all this stuff out, and you find out, hey, we're going to hand you $40,000 anyway, and it's like, oh, really? How much tax do I pay on that? Nothing. So I get 40,000 just straight up. Yup, it's not considered income. It's not considered anything. And then the next year, it's like, hey, where's that 40,000? That's the other thing, right? Like year two, they're going to take a pay cut. They're going to take a $30,000 to a $40,000 pay cut because they don't qualify for the Pell Grant anymore. So now they're just stuck with the other.
And here's the funny thing. So like for my personal experience, like I got a few scholarships, and like some of them, like that's what's funny is some of the scholarships weren't. I mean, I wasn't on a full ride, right? But it's like a $500 scholarship. I remember meant the world to me. It's like in reality, $500 over the course of 4 or 5 months is not that much money, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it was like that was $500 I wasn't having to take out in my loans, right? Like, and so it was such a big deal to get anything. So I don't know. It's like I said, that's going to be a whole different thing to deal with. And I don't know how that beast is going to get handled when we get there, because the Pell Grant, like you said, you bring a valid point. And like I said, the tax man is the other thing that I think people are not keeping sight of.
Yeah. And then, the last thing that's going to get just very interesting with NIL, which, by the way, obviously Jimbo Fisher got real mad about everybody accusing him of buying his recruiting class, which, I mean, let me think about this. We accused Ole Miss of the same thing when they had their big recruiting class, and their coach basically said the same thing as Jimbo Fisher, who kind of did the same. They've kind of had some good recruiting classes, and then all of a sudden just blew it out of the water in a year when they didn't even win a lot. Okay. We get it, Jimbo. But all that to say, I'm very curious how this is going to continue to play out, because look, when you go to the NFL, you look at your position group, right? And you say, by the position group, this is kind of the standard of pay, right? As a first round draft pick, but there isn't that for college football right now. Right? Like there is no market. And so I'm just
and there's going to be such a disparity again, like just like we talked about, right? Because the NFL pays based on people based on the basis that people in those front offices know football, so they know we've got to pay an offensive lineman a bunch of money, or else our star quarterback ain't going to matter, right?
Right.
The problem is if you go to people that don't know football, like the fan bases, to some degree, right? Okay, who am I going to give my money to? The Heisman winning quarterback or the left tackle that's protecting him? It's like,
because NIL is completely different than contracts, right? Like NIL is about, I want to put a face to my product, and I want to put a name to my product that's going to sell my product. Guess what? Like Creed Humphrey, we all agree was the best rookie offensive lineman in all the NFL. Dude, he ain't going to be doing Baker Mayfield level commercials. Nobody knows who he is. He's not a name, image, or likeness that's going to sell anything.
Well, and by the way, so Mo asked, will jersey sales count towards player income? Yeah, anything you make over $600 is income. You have to file it. So if
even
you make
their stipends.
Yeah. If you go, which I think those are probably pre-tax, but yeah. If you go to makes $601, you have to file that as income. Like it's $600 is the limit, I believe, at least. So that's definitely where that is. And so yeah, jersey sales will count. And that's it. Like the NCAA games are coming out. Are they going to be paying a cover athlete a bunch of money, or you know what I mean? Like it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be wild. So and like I said, there's no comparison. And like I said, the disparity is going to be so much larger, right? Because like I said, you look at the NFL. If you look at the NFL, like I said, there's linemen that make as much as a quarterback or close to, right? But that's not going to happen in college, right? Like, I mean, it's already not happening in college. The disparity is going to be so huge that it's going to be such a hard thing, I think, to manage, because it's like, dude, if I'm an offensive lineman, I know that the dude I'm blocking is making $1 million a year, and I'm out here if I'm making 50 grand, right? It's like, well, that's average income,
Right.
I'm not living fancy. So it's gonna be
and here's the deal. Like, and I got to thinking about this when Kobe McKenzie did his interview. Did you see his interview with Caleb Kelly on the Sooner Sports deal that he did?
Yeah.
Where Caleb Kelly kind of roasted him and said, we got to talk about this Texas thing and how you committed to them, right? But then you came back and he said, the thing that changed my mind, he said, was when they came into my home and talked to me about sticking with them, all they talked was NIL and money. And I wanted to know how we were going to win football games. And they didn't talk about it. But here's the thing. How hard is the recruiting pitch going to get for guys like Jimbo Fisher and guys like Lincoln Riley, who are working NIL deals behind the scenes for guys, right? Like, look, it's very well known. USC was working. That's why Jackson Dart left. He found out that Lincoln Riley was working on an NIL deal for Caleb Williams, that they were putting that together. How do you walk into a running back's home and go, we want you? Oh, but we're not putting the same manpower in for your as his contract.
Well,
right? And that is going to be fascinating. Whereas guys like Brent Venables, who at least to this point, he's talking football. We're going to make you a great football player. And if you do that, NIL will come your way. And you can do whatever you want with that. But my job is to get you to play great football and to get you graduated so you can do that. I think those guys are going to win out in the end when it comes to championships.
And I was going to say that, like, here's the thing. It's one of those things that you're putting all your chips on the table every year, right? Like you're one bad season away. And by bad, especially if you're landing top tier recruiting classes, is you had 10-win season, right? Or 9-win season, right? Like those are good. Those are good. Yeah. Well, they're back anyway. Right. Like, so you have this issue of they're going to be struggling if the second that they have a down season, right? And you're going to inevitably. It doesn't. I say that. I mean, there's Bama, but there's dips and valleys in most programs. 99, literally pretty much everybody but Bama. Even Bama's had, I guess, a couple of dips here and there. You're one away, and like I said, that's why I was like, I kind of laughed because I'm like, okay, Lincoln's whole reputation right now, just to bring him up, is that he has no loyalty. He doesn't care. He ran Jackson Dart out of town. Basically, he left Oklahoma and tried to set the whole program on fire. And not only OU fans calling him out that, but I said multiple fan bases have called him out about that.
Yes, they have.
And now he's in a situation where, like, I was kind of laughing because Colin was like, well, it might take 3 years to get there. And I was like, bro, if it takes 3 years to get there, he ain't getting there. Right? Because 3 years, Caleb's probably out the door. He should be out the door. That'll be 3 years.
2 more years. He should be gone.
Yeah. 2 more years. Caleb should be gone. Mario will be gone. Right? Like, I know you might have some good classes, but it's like at that point, you're going to be losing the luster, dude. Like, you made a big splash by moving out there, but if you don't start getting results quick, ain't gonna matter. And the same goes for Sarkisian, honestly. Right? Like, if that's the deal, like you just went. Honestly, those two programs right now are in very similar positions. Texas is probably better off because they have good facilities and way more backing. Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're in the same position. If they don't start winning, it doesn't matter that you got 500 offensive linemen. Like, nobody cares, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's the situation. To me, that's the way I look at it. You're literally going all in every single year that you're going to win. So I do think, like you said, especially over a longer sample period, like I wouldn't doubt if like Texas A&M doesn't make a run in the next year or two, right? But if you take that length of time and stretch it to like 10 years, like Texas A&M might not be on the map anymore as far as college football, because they are a poverty program, because the fan base isn't going to want to keep paying if you're not winning. So anyway.
Right. Absolutely. Well, yeah. So that's all the NIL stuff. And I mean, there's going to be, the more and more we walk through this, there's going to be more things to talk about with that. But that's something that I've been thinking about since this whole thing started. And we have not had a chance with, the news cycle, the way it's been with OU. We just haven't had a chance to talk about it. And I think it's something that needs to be discussed. And I'm hoping recruits and stuff and their parents are listening to this podcast, so they will think about that and consider that, especially if they do come from low income backgrounds and those kinds of things. But the other thing that they need to think about and consider is the atmosphere and the attitude and the culture of whatever program they're going into. And so let's come to that, man. We've had this massive turnover. Fans are excited. BV's here. Todd Bates is here. Bates keeps dropping his poems all over the place. You hold on to most of your staff, et cetera, et cetera. What, like, kind of give me your read and what you know about the atmosphere and kind of attitude of the team right now.
Well, I mean, first of all, and it's hard to say. I mean, obviously we're 2 months, basically a month, or whatever, month and a half. I don't know what you would call it. Very short period into this new regime, this new culture, this new staff, everything, right? I guess it's been almost 2 or 3 months, actually. So but like for me, the perception I have of it is the guys on the team seem much closer, right? Like, I think it kind of, in a way, like it galvanized the state, it galvanized the people, but it galvanized those players too. I think they all kind of bonded and were like, I mean, because Theo, a guy that was in the portal, is like, "No, dude, we're good." Like whenever Caleb announced, he was like, "No, we're good." I was like, bro, like these guys, to me, the culture has turned into, and again, this is why I'm kind of like, my hype is building quickly, is because, like I said, I'm again, Baker Mayfield fan, us versus the world kind of mentality. And it's like this whole team feels like that's their mentality, is it's us versus everybody. I don't care. And it's like, I just want to see that, and I hope BV brings that physicality. I know it may take a season or two to get the physicality to the level he wants, but I just want to see just go smash somebody in the mouth, because screw you, honestly,
Yeah.
So I'm hyped for it. I think it's a great culture. So and obviously, like, you got Schmitty. The guys have been raving about Schmitty, talking so highly of him and his workouts and how much impact they're having. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean,
great things. Again, listening to that podcast on the Prairie and Braden Willis even talking about today, we do everything together. He's like, if we leave from the stadium and we walk over to the training center, we have to walk in a single file line in our groups over there, right? Like, we start everything together. Gabe Eichert on their podcast talking the other day about how one of the things that bonded his group was everybody making sure that they wore what Schmitty told them they had to wear to work out. He said, if you showed up with the wrong socks on, your group got kicked out and you had to come back at 3. Right. And so there's just some things and even Braden Willis, we're going to be more detailed, because we have to do the details to get through our workout, or we don't make it. We don't get to do it, or we have to come back. There was some of that Dylan Gabriel and the things he talked about. So I agree. I think and even hearing the guys, everybody keeps asking about Schmitty workouts, and they're all kind of like, man, they're hard, but that's what we're here to do. Like, that's what we're supposed to be. So, I mean, there's no whining or complaining so far. And I think you're right. I think, look, man, those players feel betrayed. The ones that genuinely love the university and loved what the university gave to them. Look, I don't want to I want to be clear too, because everybody tries to do this. I understand that a lot of those players came here because of Lincoln Riley. Okay. Like, he did build relationships with players, period. And that is a major factor on this, but so is all the rest of it. You got to like the campus. You got to like the school. You got to like the setup. Like, you have to like all those things. And for the guys that fell in love with being here, for their coach to just ditch out on them, yeah, they're pissed and they want blood. And so they're ready to go to work, which I think is going to just set an awesome culture going into next year.
And to your point, real quick, just to touch on it, I mean, you got to understand, OU benefited from a guy coming for a coach in Jaron Kanak, right? Kanak came to OU because of BV.
Absolutely.
And again, we went over that last week about that whole story. That's a crazy story. If you didn't go check out last week's podcast, because we talked about that. Anyway, Jaron Kanak could be one of my favorite players. So everybody's a favorite player. Everybody gets a favorite player badge. Anyway, the one thing, okay, so there's one thing that's kind of a culture thing or attitude or whatever, I don't know what you call it. BV has also stated that he doesn't want to use the transfer portal, that he's not going to use the transfer portal. And I'm like, that's one of those things that I'm like, my question, I guess, is, look, I agree. Like, I don't like the portal, right? Like, I'm not a huge fan of it. I understand to some degree, but it just feels, like you said, we talked about Wild West kind of craziness.
Yeah.
So you have to use it. All the top tier programs are using it. Everybody's poaching players. If you're the one that's left not doing that,
right?
Okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I can understand him saying, "I'm not going to go pilfer the cabinets at Clemson, right, where I just came from." I get that. But at the same time, you know, it's one of those things. I think you have to do it. So do you think that's like, I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's going to change his tune on that? Do you think that could be his undoing in the long term? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I think if he legitimately goes the no transfer ever deal, like Dabo's kind of done the last few years, yes, he's in big trouble. You just can't. You can't in this era of football do that. I mean, that would be like an NFL team saying, we're not going to sign any free agents. We're only going to draft. Like, yeah. No, you're not. Like, you can't do that, right? But here's what I would say. I understand a little bit of what BV's about, you know, and he talked about it in his 90-minute interview deal he did with media. And he used Vic Beasley as his example, right? Top whatever he was, top 10, top 15 draft pick. But he talks about how the first 2 years at Clemson, he hardly played. Like, he was never on the field. And then he led the ACC or the nation in sacks. And then he went into the league and led the league in sacks. I mean, like, he pulled it together. I would say this. If BV says, I am not going to use the transfer portal at all, OU is in big, big trouble. But if BV said something like this, we're only going to take kids out of the portal who their whole coaching staff left their university and the rug's kind of been pulled out from underneath them. So we're going to evaluate kids that can play at this level, but they feel like they've gotten blindsided, and we're going to pull those kids in. If a kid goes in the portal because they're a freshman or a sophomore and they're just mad because of their playing time, we're going to pass. Right. Well, and I'm just throwing that out as a possibility, but something like that, like if you want to have that kind of policy, okay, I can get on board. But if you say you're not going to use it at all, I'm very scared about BV being our head coach.
Yeah, and I guess a double-edged sword to this is, either way you look at it, is it also breeds loyalty. I think that's a big thing that they've talked about is loyalty, not only to the current players but future players, past players. It's kind of like you were talking about earlier about them walking a seal file. It's almost like the military. I wasn't in the military, but everybody I know it's in the military. It's like a brotherhood, whether you're a Marine in the Army or whatever. And that's kind of how it feels like with OU players, and to the extent of, like, these guys are very much. You know, like Roy Williams being on the podcast on the Prairie, saying like, hey, so many amazing things. Like, I'll help you. I'll get you in contact with the dude in the league and all kind. I mean, he doesn't know those guys, but we're brothers because we both bled for OU, right? So I think that's one thing. So do you think to wrap this section up, do you think, like, I know there's going to be a big recruiting event, almost certainly. It may not be Champ U Barbecue 23 or whatever, 22, but you know, you're gonna have an event. Do you think that he's going, like, BV's going to try to tap into that, like, more? Do you think he's going to be able to pull more former players? Like, do you think it's going to be a show out that's going to look like, make even last year's barbecue look like a sideshow?
Yeah, no, okay. So what will be interesting is guys like CeeDee Lamb, right? Guys like Baker, guys like Kyler, guys like Jalen. where does their full loyalty really lie?
And by the way, hey,
like that'll be interesting.
Just real quick, basketball just won. OU men's basketball just won against Texas Tech.
Let's go. Finally, let's get something there, right? That's a big win for them, though. That's huge. But like Trent Williams, oh yeah, he's coming back. Lane Johnson, he's coming back. You better believe like Curtis Lofton, Teddy Lehman, Sam Bradford.
Could you imagine getting like right now, getting like Joe Mixon, Samaje, some of the guys that are about to be playing
Bobby Evans,
Obo. Like so getting some of those guys back because the kids that are in high school right now, that's who they're watching.
Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. So no, I think it'll be interesting that Lincoln era players, how many of those guys come back. But over the long haul, if BV works out and it goes the way we think it will, yes, because he lets them come back already. Roy Williams, man, I don't care how old you are. You know who Roy Williams is. Like kids still know who he is. And if they don't, they can go find highlights enough to go, that was a bad man.
You can almost not pick a more iconic play than Superman. Like you can't.
Right.
Like it's in OU history at least.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
Gerald McCoy still in the league is going to be there for BV, right?
Dude, Gerald McCoy is a huge OU guy. Like,
yep.
I remember watching a deal where he was doing a tour when he was still at Tampa. He's doing a tour of his house, and he has a whole display cabinet of all his OU stuff. He's like, "Yo, dog, I went and played at OU." Like, he gave like a huge shout out and was like, that's one of my proudest moments as being at the University of Oklahoma." And I was like, let's go, dude.
And then like on Hard Knocks, they started playing Boomer Sooner in the workout room, and he just starts going nuts, losing his mind and all that stuff. So yeah, I think you're going to see more players. I think guys like Tony Jefferson, Kenny Stills, that whole era, like they're coming, and those are players that these kids know. Like those are,
and again, it goes back to that
connections, all that,
and it goes back to that mentality of, like we talked about with the us versus the world. That's how those guys were. Like if you listen to Roy, like I said, listen to his interview, go listen to the podcast on the prairie with him. He's like, look, if you ain't with us, you're against us, and I don't.
Yeah.
Like basically,
I don't understand how you're watching guys leave going, hey, good luck. I ain't wishing them luck. They're gone. They said they were coming here. They're not
with us. They're not with us. They're not with us anymore. So anyway, and I love it. So anyway, but let's get into some, like softball, another dominant sport. Like, let's just talk about real quick, just a real side. The Oklahoma athletic department, can they do anything wrong right now? Like the basketball programs are on the rise. I mean, I know that they've kind of had a little bit of an up and down season. The girls are playing.
Women are for sure on the rise.
Yeah. The men, I think the men are, right? I mean, it's just going to take a year or two to get.
It's going to take a year or two. Yep.
But the softball program, and we're not even talking about gymnastics. But yeah, softball has a very good chance of going back to back in national titles. I mean, there's huge expectations on this team. They're set up on, at least on paper, to be better, right? They're set up to be 100%. Be a better team. Now, I'm one of those people that's like, okay, you can take whatever's on paper and throw it out the window. It ain't going to matter, right? Like when you get out on the field, it ain't going to matter what it says on paper, right? What do you think? Like, what are your expectations? They're going to, by the way, for people that don't know, they are opening this weekend again, a game against UC Santa Barbara. So should be, I mean, if you want to watch them play softball, we'll go, whatever. So, but what are your expectations? What do you think?
I honestly believe that Patty Gasso is the Nick Saban of her sport. I mean, that's what I believe. It took her a while to get there. But I mean, good Lord, man, she's won what is it, 4 national titles now? I believe that she's won at OU
4 or 5.
And yeah, she's bringing practically an entire squad back that just won the title. And she added a transfer who pitched a perfect game last year on like 30 pitches or something stupid. And she brought the #1 player in all of like high school recruiting, who also happens to be a pitcher. And the girls that are sluggers on this team are already saying, y'all need to watch out. This girl can straight throw smoke. Like, as long as these girls will stay committed, and I don't think Patty's going to let them do anything less. I mean, she's the Nick Saban. Like all the pressure, everyone expects Alabama to win every year. They always expect them to be the most talented. And yet they play like everyone believes that they're the worst team on freaking planet Earth week in and week out.
Yeah,
That's
it
Patty
cracks me up.
Gasso.
Yeah, Nick Saban coming out and being like, "Well, we just don't get any respect." It's like, I mean, but his guys buy it. Like his guys buy into that culture. So I do think so. I mean, I do think they're going to be, and as a matter of fact, I think they're going to be more dominant this season. I mean, I guess that goes with them being better, but I also just think that like the teams in the Big 12, I don't think are going to be quite as good this year, from top to bottom, right?
Right.
And a lot of the other programs that are like that have been the challengers to OU aren't going to be, I don't think, as good. But we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be hard to tell. I mean, UCLA is always a threat. You know, Alabama in softball usually has a very good team. Oklahoma State, I think, is going to actually have
Florida.
Washington. Yeah. So, yeah. But I mean, I'm pumped. Hopefully, I mean, I remember watching last year. I watched all of the.
Yeah.
I watched almost every softball game. It's
my
actually
daughter
really
went to
fun
the
watch.
semis last year. Logan went to the semis last year.
Dude, we gotta go. We gotta go to a game this year.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
So anyway, but yeah,
Awesome.
I'm super hyped. So like I said, guys, there's a weekend Saturday. There is a game against UC Santa Barbara. So anyway, so I guess we want to. Do you want to talk about anything else softball before we get into Q&A? We'll kind of get this
let's
thing
jump to
wrapping up.
Q&A. Let's get it rolling. Yeah, let's get it rolling.
Okay, so let me get in the Discord here.
I'm in it right here. I can get you hooked up.
Yeah. So by the way, Sunshine asked, "There's got to be a cow turd segment." There was a cow turd segment.
Yes.
Give me the darkest for Link. I guess that's Lincoln, like Lincoln. This is a con. I didn't get that at first. I
think we kind of did that at the front end for Mo. I think that's what Mo was getting at. Just like straight up, just burn him to death, like in the pod. And I think we did that up front.
Yeah. I mean, just go watch a YouTube video of him. Does it himself. Anyway. The other question was, Nemo wants to know, when do Sunshine and I get to be on the podcast as guest hosts? I don't know. Like, Nemo, that's kind of one of the first times you've really asked. But I know Sunshine has, so we'll definitely have to talk to that and reach out to you.
And
guys.
we have told Sunshine we'll let him on the pod. He's going to be a guest on the pod soon enough. And so we'll just, you know what we need to do? We know that I'm going to be out again at some point. We need to figure out when that is. You need to set them up with coming up on the stream, getting everything posted, and let Nemo and Sunshine come on with you. That's what we need.
Okay.
How about that?
We can do that. So we'll work out the details, Nemo. My people will get in touch with your people. Nemo also asked, who do OU fans hate more, Mike Stoops or TBOW?
TBOW.
Yeah, 100%. I don't even think it's close. Like,
because look, here's the deal. I think every OU fan would tell you this. Mike was trying. It's not like Mike wasn't giving effort. You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't working.
Well, and here's the other part of this. You have to look at the thing with it is like Mike. People were frustrated with Mike. I don't think people they were just angry that the situation dragged on as long as it did.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It wasn't. I think I think people, like I said, just got so angry at that it seemed like hate, but it's like, I don't really care. Like, I haven't thought about Mike Stoops. You know what I mean? Like, I hope him the best. You know what I mean? Like, I wish him the best, whatever. But like, I didn't, but it's like, TBOW, dude, when another thing is when Mike left. He didn't leave and go to Alabama and start calling every OU player he knew and saying, "Hey, I'm at Bama now. Come over here and play with us, even though I'm just an analyst," right? Or whatever. TBOW left and tried to set the whole program on fire. So, yeah, TBOW hands down.
Hey, and we missed another question from Nemo, which was, if you could only rewatch one game from this year outside of the Texas game, which would you choose?
Oh man,
this one's easy for me.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Oregon. I'd watch the Oregon game.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
that was the most.
I was thinking regular season.
Yeah, I mean, he might have meant that, I guess. Okay, so let's do it. I would do Oregon, but if you're talking regular season, oh man,
I'm gonna go Nebraska not because it was a nail biter, but I could watch the DJ Graham interception 5 million times.
Ooh, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Just on that, I know that's one play, one 5-second period in a game, but but and it was just a good game. So, yeah, I don't know. That's what's kind of funny. This year was a very weird year for OU, where I even as a giant OU fan, it's like I was gonna watch every game, but at the same time, I was kind of like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like I was down. Even when they won, it felt like you lost. So
yeah, it was bad.
And then the end of the season happens.
OU champs threw in here this on the Discord. Imagine if BV hired Mike to be the DC.
There's no way. I mean, that's the reason he left, but it would be pretty hilarious.
I can tell you this much. The line that we have heard over and over again, right, with some of his questionable hires, like we've all kind of been like, Ted Roof, okay. But it's like, all right, look, man, I trust BV, right? Like that's been the line. If BV wants it, BV gets it. But if he hired Mike Stoops,
there would be some hate. He would get ratio.
And then, yeah, and now we're getting hit up in Discord that there are comments in your Twitch stream that we are not reading. Mo is very upset.
Okay, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm okay. They said they want us to go.
I got Mo in. I read everything Mo asked for.
Okay, well, I was reading the Discord. I was reading the Discord. Okay, this is the professional podcasting you come for, people. So they're talking about getting softball jerseys, which I actually would love to get a softball jersey. I'd love to get a football jersey and a softball jersey. It's going to be Jordan brand football jerseys, especially. So God knows how much they're going to be. But
oh my gosh, yeah.
That Jordan brand Nike is crazy. Anyway, Allo, they were talking about the jerseys they want. Donahue, go to a game May 22nd if we make it to this the College World Series or the Women's College World Series. Yeah, I want to go. I'd love to go to a playoff game. I just want to go to a game. So I don't know. And they're really, tickets usually aren't that hard to get. So and it's the thing that kind of sucks is a lot of softball games get played during the week too. So maybe for me it'd be a 45-minute drive.
Women's College World Series is tough to go to, and it is blazing hot too. Whew,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, May's not comforting in Oklahoma.
It's not even May. I think it's June. I think the College World Series is in June.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wish I could.
I'll look it up. Keep going through your stuff on that end.
Yeah, I think you might be right. No, I think it was May. Well, it was early June.
Great.
It ended early June. I have a Baker Jordan jersey, and it was 100 plus tax. Oh my God, that's actually really not that bad. I don't think for
June
jersey.
2nd. June 2nd.
Yeah. So, Mo says he loves you. By the way, you two get married and run off together. I don't care.
I got your back, Mo.
I'm going to go to multiple softball games this year. Yeah, I am. And I'd love to go. I really want to. I want to start going to basketball games too. But like I said,
I'm telling you what. I've been to 2 also gymnastics meets. That's some of the best entertainment you'll have. It's quick. That the stuff they do, man. Good Lord, man, those girls are just freak out. And the guys are great too. But my daughter was into gymnastics, so I kept taking her to that stuff, and it's a great show too.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I need to go to some of those things. I think it'd be fun. But so yeah, but I know let's get into some. I think that's all the questions we got. They're now talking about the dates and everything, but TV. Let's talk. We always do a little bit of TV movie talk. So by the way, I did watch.
I know we have it in that, but let's flip this. We got to talk Super Bowl.
Okay, let's do Super Bowl.
We got to do Super Bowl first. We got to do that first.
So I think here's what's funny is I think we're kind of on opposite. Here's the thing. I don't really have I wouldn't say I have a dog in this fight, right? Like I'm not diehard for either.
I'm very curious where you're about to go with this.
But if I'm picking a team to cheer for, I'm cheering for the Bengals. I want my boy Joe to win it. I want my boy Samaje to win it.
Yeah, you better clarify, Joe
Mixon. Don't make sense.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I mean, I
before somebody comes to kill you.
I don't hate Joe Burrow. Okay, I'll say it. I don't care. I don't hate Joe Burrow. I think he's a good quarterback.
That dude's got so much swag, bro.
Dude,
He's got so much swag.
I can respect him for just being him, right? Like that's just who he is. Whatever. Like, dude, go do your thing. But yes, I'm going for the Bengals, but I understand that you're going to go for the Rams. Is that fair?
Yes.
Because you want the whole Matthew Stafford. You want them to have a Hallmark movie next year for him
all,
or whatever.
All of them, man. Like, look, I want Stafford to get a ring. I want Von Miller, I think, deserves another ring for the career that he's had. And most of all, out of everybody, Aaron Donald deserves a ring. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, the last, 3 to 4 years at least, he is the most dominant and the best player in the NFL. He just doesn't get the credit because of the position he plays, and it can't rack up stats because he's constantly getting double and triple teamed. And as we saw, if you follow, what's that guy's name? Ted Nguyen or whatever that does NFL stuff. And he showed a play this year where four linemen slid to Aaron Donald, giving everybody else on his D-line opportunity. He deserves a ring. And if he doesn't get it in this Super Bowl, I believe his career is going to start to be on the decline because as a D tackle, it's kind of like running back, man. You hit that 30 range and it goes down fast. That man deserves a ring. He's the best player in the NFL, in my opinion.
And here's the thing. I think that's the thing, though. That's what I'm getting at is for me, especially, I don't really have a team in the NFL. I really don't care.
No.
But there's good storylines for both. Like the Bengals not being basically having no playoff wins. They haven't had any playoff wins, I don't think, in 30 plus years. Right.
Crazy. Yeah.
I don't remember what the actual stat is, but they've had essentially just say they've had almost no playoff success at all in the last however many years, decades. And so them going to the Super Bowl was insane. And like I said, obviously there's OU players on that roster that I'm going to cheer for. But there's a Stafford thing. Stafford gave all he could. The fact that Detroit fans are cheering for LA because they want to support Stafford. Yeah. Like you said, the Donald stuff. Obviously Obo plays on that team.
Bobby Evans is on that team as well.
Bobby Evans. Yeah.
Cooper Kupp story is a great story. I mean, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
fun to watch.
It's this playoff has been like there's going to be like 20 movies made about this playoffs as a whole because holy crap, it's just storyline after storyline after storyline, you know. So this needs to be turned into a HBO miniseries.
Right. And here's where I land as well too, just from an X's and O standpoint. If you go all the way back to round 1 of this playoff, for the Tennessee Titans to sack Joe Burrow 9 times, hold them to what they held them to, you had the ball to go down and score a field goal and win the game. And instead you throw an interception on the 50-yard line and kind of hand the game to Cincy. I got to believe with everything in me, a fresh Von Miller, a fresh Aaron Donald, a fresh Obo. If Tennessee can get 9 sacks in a game, I got to imagine. Right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Joe Burrow
confident.
has defied all the odds. So, I mean, I don't know.
That's what I was saying. It's, you know, they beat Kansas City. Okay. Let's just put it in the frame of reference that Kansas City is a very good team and they came back from behind twice on Kansas City from large deficits and won those games. So it's one of those things. Again, it's kind of one of those mentalities that they just don't have any quit in them. Right. Like, yeah. It would have been very easy for them, especially in the playoffs. They were it was 21-3 or something. Kansas City was just walking down the field every drive. I mean, it just didn't look like there was any stop, and they didn't give up. So kudos to them. I mean, but like I said, if they lost, I'm not gonna be crying in my bed all night for it. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I was going to pick a team, who I thought was going to win, I'd probably say the Rams. I think the Rams are the better team, but I'm going to be cheering for the Bengals. So,
if you had to throw a score out, what would your score be? Let's just throw something out there.
I'm going to cheer for the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm going to say that the score is going to be 24-13.
24-13. Rams?
Yes, I think the Rams will win.
Okay. All right. I will say this. this game is either going to be an absolute blowout or it's going to be a 3 seconds to go in the game field goal game again, like we've had throughout the entire playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and go with the crazy one. And I'm going to say the Rams win this game 35-13. I think there's going to be a pick six in the game. And I think that they get 10 plus sacks on Joe Burrow in the game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's good. Honestly, that's one of those things I would normally be arguing and roasting you with, but I don't disagree with you. So,
but now that I said that, they'll end up getting like 2 sacks. And again, it's going to end up being like a 10-7 game again with a field goal with 3 seconds to go. You watch.
Mo says 34-31. Bengals. Yeah, it's going to be a wild game. It should be fun to watch. But yeah, so real quick TV talk. Real quick preface this. I haven't seen the new Boba Fett. I probably will either.
Oh, I have not either yet.
I haven't seen it because it's a season finale or whatever. So I definitely need to watch that.
I did start a new show and finish a new show.
Okay, what'd you start and finish?
Jack Reacher, or just Reacher, I guess. The
okay.
version.
I have a problem with the show, and I haven't watched it yet. So I used to watch a show called Blue Mountain State, and there's a guy. The main character in Jack Reacher, his name was Thad Castle on Blue Mountain State. And I just I can't see his face and not think Thad Castle. Like, literally, that's who he is. So, I can't remember what the dude, Ronnie Rondell or whatever the other dude's. He's been
no idea what his name.
Yeah, but there's I've seen those, like, some of the actors from that show being other things, and it's like I still see them as Blue Mountain State. So I haven't checked it out. I probably should. Apparently, there's rumors that the new Jack Ryan will be coming out soon, so I'm pretty hyped for that.
I love Jack Ryan.
Yeah, apparently I think it's like already, like, I believe they said it's out of even post-production. They're just waiting to actually release it.
And the other thing that I did not know that Amazon was releasing, I don't know how I missed it, that they're doing a prequel to the Lord of the Rings that they're making into a series, but they've poured some cash into that show apparently.
Yeah, it's about like the first men that came over to Middle Earth and all that stuff. That like first encounter with the elves, I think, and all that. I don't know that part of the lore as well, but yeah.
I don't either at all, but I'm down. I love the Lord of the Rings saga, so I'm all in.
Here's, by the way, quick tidbit. This is just random fact. That the whole Lord of the Rings thing, by the way, is based, like, the groups of people and everything like that is based on the tribes and people of the British Isles, like in ancient history. Like the Celts, like the people that lived in Ireland and all that stuff. They're the hobbits and whatever. Like, they're all these different all those factions are basically represent some group of people, which I always found interesting. I didn't know that, and like somebody like literally listed it out. I was like, holy crap, that makes so much sense. But anyway, yeah, so I'm hyped for that. So, and also I think I told you this. The Kingsman is on.
Yes.
So I watched it last night. It's really good. I liked it. It was funny because I booted up and the critic score was like not good.
Right.
The audience score was pretty decent. Like, I think it had like a 70% or something on audience, and I was like, okay, like, hopefully it's good. And I honestly like it a lot. There's a lot of, like, there was about 2 or 3 moments where I was like, whoa, like, I didn't see that coming, kind of thing. So it is really good. I don't know if it was as good as the first movie still, but it's definitely a good watch. I'm not disappointed in it.
From just seeing it, I would say this. I have to imagine that Kingsman has a way different feel than Kingsman, the first movie, right? Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I think if you go into that movie as a critic or whatever, trying to put it in the saga of Kingsman to the Golden Circle to, then it's not gonna.
And here's the interesting thing. The whole series or the way that it ends is like there could be a whole series, like where they leave it off. Like, clearly they're going to leave it somewhat open-ended because there's movies that are in the present day, right? So they weren't just going to say like, oh, the Kingsman's over or whatever. But the way they set it up is like, dude, if there's a second one, dude, I'm gonna be hyped for it. So
nice,
but it's really
down.
really good, and it's
That's
like
awesome.
I kind of thought, I think it would be really cool if they did because like this one obviously takes place in World War One, the World War II, Cold War. Like you can do so much with it. It's gonna be amazing.
That would be fun. And Nemo's like been tearing through Yellowstone, hadn't he?
Yes, he said he finally finished Yellowstone. Yeah, so Yellowstone, it definitely, I would say, because he was like, it was funny because he was messaging both of us on Twitter.
Yep.
And he was like, I finished season 3. Oh my God. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, season 4 is going to be wild. And I was like, well, like I didn't say anything, but I was like, not the season 4's ending was bad, but it wasn't. Season 3's was just out there.
Season 3 was out of control. And
it was so funny because like, I've been watching Yellowstone since like forever, I think. So I think I started watching it when it came out basically. And so he would say stuff and I was like, dude, I kind of forgot about that. It was just so long ago, but
I know.
But yeah, no, Yellowstone's great. So and 1883 has been really good. I think they have like 2 episodes left, maybe. I think there's an episode this week and then next week, and then I think they're done for the season. So what's funny is I thought like they're setting that up where it's I don't know how it's not going to be like 10 seasons, like because spoiler was like, I don't know if this is really a spoiler. Obviously it's about them traveling to Montana and founding the Yellowstone Ranch, and they start in Texas and meet up with this group, and that's where this group is heading. They're helping with this group basically going to Montana area and Oregon,
right west, heading out west.
Yeah, and like right now they're in Oklahoma. Like, and there's like 2 episodes left.
That's cool.
So it's pretty good. It's a really good show. I've actually enjoyed it a lot. Mayor Kingstown, like I said, it was really good.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I am the show that I'm still kind of like, it's like a guilty pleasure watch is still Navy SEALs. But it's just because there's not a whole lot out. I'm waiting on Peaky Blinders to come out because Peaky Blinders is so good.
I gave you an option to get off Navy SEALs and to go back and watch those Brave episodes.
I will watch it. Why can I not watch both? Like,
because you even say that SEALs is like, it's not really.
It's super cheesy.
I gotta go check it.
Yeah, it's super cheesy, but
So go check out Brave. I'm telling you, you want to talk about it. You will go back and watch those episodes 3 and 4 and 5 times over.
Okay.
It's so good.
I'll check them out. So, but yeah,
not to mention, you will for sure earn the status of greatest uncle with your niece because she likes that show more than anybody in the house.
Like that belt isn't firmly secured. All right. I'm sorry. Like, no disrespect to Evans brothers, but Uncle J-Rod's coming from the top rope. You know what I mean? Like I'm champ. All right. So that's that. I'm not leaving that podium. All right. I'm standing on top step.
I love it.
But anyway, so no, it was a good pod. Thanks guys for hanging out. I had a good time, man.
I had a great time. And again, don't forget to, if you haven't already, give us a review, man. Give us a follow wherever you're listening to us at. Again, we're on YouTube now, here on Twitch. We're Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Any of those things. And again, we've got some people coming on. I've actually been talking to Superfan Steve Bullard about coming on with us. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. He's hilarious and does some really cool charity work that he's going to come and tell us about as well. So that's going to be awesome. Again, we got Darian Goulet. He and I have finally started messaging to get that nailed down. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, we'll figure out a plan to make that happen. So that should be great. So forth, so on. So lots of things happening. We get to do more of that. The more of you that are letting people know that you're watching and taking all this in. So again, just fans trying to give you some good content and some good banter. So we hope you like it. We're having a great time. We hope you are too. I'm Daryl.
I'm J-Rod.
And we will talk to you guys later. Bye, Baker.
Cha-ching, it's on your money ball. And you can unhitch the wagon. Put the ponies in the ball.